The end of an era is here. By now, I'm sure you've heard the bad news that Sony is planning to stop all physical disc production in January 2028. So, from January 2028, we'll never see another physical PS5 or PS6 game on disc again. So, I wanted to come on and share my thoughts on this bad news. And I got to start by saying that it's not completely unexpected. I think we've all seen the writing on the wall for some time, but I don't think anybody expected to get that news this week. So it did kind of come out of the blue. And I just want to share my thoughts on it. So the first thing I want to say is that for me, this is kind of a deja vu moment because I grew up playing on the PC as well as consoles. So I've already lived through this once with big box PC games, right? I saw the end of physical PC games, saw everything move to Steam and other online game retailers. And so the digital kind of transformation is something that's been in progress for a long time and that we've all seen, but this one this one hurts just as much as the end of PC games, and it's sad to see sort of this full steam ahead approach to the digital world. But I remember back in the day growing up buying big box PC games just like this is Doom 2, and these are games that I still look for, still try to collect. I still like collecting these old big box PC games, but the kind of trend away from physical has been a steep and slippery slope. We used to get these big box games full of stuff, manuals, posters, extra content. And then we've just been seeing it wind down and down and down over the years from, color manuals to black and white manuals to no manuals at all to game codes in a box to game key cards, just such a downhill slope into digital. And it's such a loss for the consumer and such a loss for gamers and people who love physical games, right? And it's just really sad to see that we'll never get another disc like this for a Sony PlayStation game after 2028. And the PS5 has been a great console. And I do wonder if this news is really going to make the PS5 physical market take off, right? Now that it's the last collectible Sony console, I wonder if a lot of people are going to be picking up more PS5 games to hold on to those memories and remember, the last of the physical age. So I've got to say for myself, while I really enjoy the PS5, I've never really been a big PS5 collector. I just pick up, the few and far between games that I'm really interested in that I really want to play. But I've always been focused more on Switch and now Switch 2 collecting. So you can see I got a somewhat sizable collection of Switch games back there. Not a huge collection, but I try to go for quality over quantity, and that's really where my focus is going to be going forward. I really enjoyed collecting for the Switch and Switch 2, and I'm glad I still have that at least for now. But I'm really starting to feel like, the Switch 2 may be the last console that I collect for. I can't imagine that the next Nintendo console is going to have physical games. I'm sure the next Xbox console is going all digital. And we know about the Steam machine, so everything seems to be going in that direction. And I just wanted to come on and say, what a shame it is because we as consumers lose so much when we don't have access anymore to physical games, right? We can't sell them, we can't trade them, we can't pass them down, we can't play them in the future if they get taken away. There's just so many cons to not having physical games, not even to mention the impact this is going to have to all the retailers, all the people selling physical games. Because let's be honest, if the only option now is a game key code in a box, what's the point of even making that commute over to the game store to buy it, right? You're just going to buy it digitally. And I think this is going to put a lot of businesses out of business. This is going to hurt a lot of people's bank accounts. And what I don't think Sony really sees here is that I think ultimately in the long run, it's going to hurt them as a company too, because people learn about games, people get interested in games, people want to buy games when they're out shopping, when they go into a store and they see all the games available. They see the big Sony PlayStation signs, they see the kiosks to play the games, all those kind of things. And to some degree, that won't be going away, but it's not going to be like it was. So I don't know. I think it's kind of a strange decision to make. I do understand that the majority of people seem to be going digitally these days. And yeah, it's just a shame. But I think that Sony kind of played their hand here and let us all know that the PS6 will be coming out by 2028 or in 2028, right? I can only imagine that this announcement is going to align with the launch of their latest system. So that's a guarantee. That's an all digital system. And this might be the first PlayStation since the original that has no backwards compatibility, right? I wonder if they will allow you to play your digital PS5 games on the PS6, or if they'll have some mechanism to play old PS5 games, maybe another optional disk drive just for that. Can't imagine that's the case, but that's sad to see as well, right? Losing backwards compatibility for all these awesome PS5 games. And what a time it's been on the PS5. I mean, great games. I will enjoy and remember, all the Sony consoles up to now. And I got to say as well that I've been riding with Sony since day one. Since the PS1, I've had every Sony console. Prior to that, I was really stuck on Nintendo, Super Nintendo, N64. Then I went completely Sony, skipped every Nintendo and Xbox console up until the Switch, where I'm back in now with the Switch and Switch 2. But the last thing I want to talk about here, and I really want to get your opinions on this, are you still considering buying a PS6 if it's only digital, right? And I can say from my end, prior to this announcement, I was 100% in on the PS6. I would have picked it up day one, no matter what, tried to get my hands on it because I love Sony and I love PlayStation. But as somebody who has a gaming PC, and it's a fairly new gaming PC, like it's miles ahead of the PS5, I'm sure it's going to be better than the PS6 in terms of specs. What's really my incentive now to get a PS6, right? I can just play these games on my PC. Steam has a lot of good game deals. Games are generally pretty cheap on there. And if there's no physical disc, like why should I dish out potentially another $1,000 on a PS6 when I can just play these games now on the PC? There's no more physical games to buy. I have other options. And I want to know your opinions. Are you still considering getting a PS6? Does this matter to you? I think I went from about 100% chance of buying a PS6 now to 40%, meaning it's more likely that I'm not going to get a PS6. But there's still hope, right? Sony can still win me over. We don't even know anything about the PS6 yet, but that's where I'm at. I'm sticking right now with the Switch and Switch 2. I'm happy we're still getting at least some fully physical games on the Switch 2. I mean, the game key cards, we've talked about that. I'm not going to go into that again, but still, there are games being fully physically released on the Switch 2, and that's where my focus is. And also focused on the old Switch backlog. So, besides that, I just wanted to say that in terms of collecting, I mean, the retro game market is definitely going to explode if there's no more physical games going forward, right? A lot more people are going to want to get into retro collecting, and I think that's awesome. I think that's a good thing, and that's something I'm going to consider more and more as well, even though I've already been kind of in that scene. But I want to say that where I'm at now with collecting, besides the Switch and Switch 2, is really on other physical media, things like books, strategy guides, things like this, right? The Final Fantasy VII remake material Ultimania. Books like this that are kind of physical, you have forever, that are always really the definitive edition, right? Like you don't, with games, you get new releases, updated graphics, etc. But with books and strategy guides, they're almost always a definitive edition, right? Sometimes a game will get a remake or remaster and get a new guide with it. But stuff like this holds up really well. The Dino Crisis strategy guide, 007 strategy guide, GoldenEye. Stuff like this is what I like to collect these days because, they last forever. They don't really age like an old game. An old N64 game might not hold up that well today, but the strategy guide will always be awesome. You can always flip through it, remember the game. So that's what I like to collect these days. But I want to know, what do you guys like to collect these days? What do you think about the announcement? How hard did you take it? Do you think this is a big mistake? And are you still in on the PS6? That's what I want to know the most. So that's it. I just wanted to come share my thoughts on this subject and, rest in peace to physical games for Sony. So that's it, guys. Hope you enjoyed. If you liked the video, don't forget to like it and subscribe and have a good day.